Hey kids, let's talk about maps. Now, Phantom Forces has like a lot of maps, like 24 or something. I don't know the actual number of maps. I couldn't care less about the number of maps. But the point is, there's a lot of maps in this game, and not all of them are created equal. In fact, there's only one map that people have been saying is truly amazing in this game, and that is the one I am currently in right now, and that is Desert Storm. Now, Desert Storm is a unique map because I have not yet met a single person who just doesn't like Desert Storm. It's one of it is the most beloved map in the entire game. Period. Like, it's impossible to dislike this map. And today I'm going to be going over why exactly that is. And hopefully I can figure out what exactly does make a good map. And why most of the other maps are considered garbage. So let's talk about the general design of this map. Now, this map is catered towards any gun type, and well, people say it's a sniping map. It is a map that anyone can pick any gun on, and they have a decent chance of doing well with it. It's not necessarily something that any one gun type can dominate. You could literally just use a Zit with Rat Shot and do just as good with the BFG. Well, I mean, it's probably not a very good example since number one, this isn't Rat Shot, this is Armor Piercing, and number two, I mean, it's a Zip and a BFG. What else do I have to say here? But the point is, you could use a very close quarters oriented gun like the M231, or a long range gun like the Intervention, let's say, and you could do equally good with either of them. And that is very, very unique amongst maps. Like, no other map can actually say that. Like, sure, some of the maps might try to be designed that way, but Desert Storm's design is simply perfect for every single weapon type to have potential on it, and that's one of the main reasons I think as to why Desert Storm is the best map in Phantom Forces. Now, how does it accomplish this? Well, for starters, if you'll notice here, the entire map, there's not that much cover in general, and the cover that is there can easily be shot through. Like, I mean, not really a good example either since BFG, but look, even a Zip can penetrate through this barrier. Like, that's impressive. That's very impressive. So, yeah, I'm gonna say that that's one of the big reasons why Desert Storm is so beloved. It's just simply very open. There's not a ton of cover. It's very easy to track enemies through, and it's just what makes it so fun. It doesn't favor the defender basically, and there are many instances that I can think of, or examples where favoring the defender has made a game or a map very unfun playing. Like, this is probably gonna spark a little bit of controversy, but the combat update for Minecraft, like, Technoblade said in his Dream Duel analysis video that he did like a fairly long time ago. He said that 1.9 combat favors the defender, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why 1.9 combat was so disliked or so controversial basically amongst the community, because favoring the defender, it doesn't really, if both people are, it just leads to a stalemate then basically, if that makes sense, and that's never fun. And that's exactly why Mirage, despite being also a sniping map, is so absolutely terrible, because it favors the defender, and Desert Storm doesn't. it favors both the attacker and the defender. It doesn't favor one over the other, and that is really the beauty of this map. I believe it doesn't favor the defender, and that's pretty cool. It's very This map being open is generally one of the things that I find so fun about it, since it's a lot easier to see enemies and actually fight them. Whereas Mirage is just, oh, here, you can have an entire building all to yourself, and now no one can find each other. Like, that's never fun. Like, name one person who would actually find that enjoyable. And Desert Storm doesn't have that. Everyone, it's just as fast paced as you need it to be. It's not too fast paced, but it's also not so slow paced that you just end up lobby hopping basically. And yeah. And another thing that I want to point out with Desert Storm is that it's fairly difficult to spawn trap, and that's actually very useful for keeping, the lower level players playing the game, since spawn trapping is, it's kind of a problem with a lot of other maps like Crane Site, which is the very first map that was actually added to Phantom Forces. Fun fact, if you weren't around that long, which I wasn't, but I figured that out. And one of the main problems with Crane Site is, well, it's kind of similar to Desert Storm in the sense that, like, it has, how do I word this? It's open and doesn't really favor the defender, but it's just really easy to spawn trap, and it's also pretty one-sided as well. So, like, the Phantoms are always at a disadvantage, since the mid building is directly overlooking basically the entire Phantom spawn, whereas the Ghost spawn is a bunch of buildings, and the Phantoms it isn't really easy to spawn trap that. But with Desert Storm, that isn't the issue. There's no spawn trapping with this map. Well, there isn't no spawn trapping, but it is very difficult to spawn trap compared to all the other maps like Metro or Crane Site, as I mentioned. But there are a couple of other maps that also have very similar layout to Desert Storm, but also have a ton of pitfalls. Like, let's take Bazaar. Well, it's not really similar to Desert Storm, but it is surprisingly popular for such a new map, which I'm not one of those people who liked it, since I personally hate Bazaar, but I understand why people like it. So the main reason why Bazaar is so well liked is because it's fast paced, which I don't really need to explain anything here. I mean, being fast paced is generally just preferred to being slow paced. It's another reason why people like Metro, for instance. But the main thing that makes Desert Storm better than Bazaar is because it isn't too fast paced. Like, if you're not really good at the game, you won't just be left behind by the other players. You can still just chill back there with your BFG and not get completely boned for the entire round. Although you wouldn't really get as many kills, you wouldn't be completely fucked there, And comparing that to Mirage, where the BFG is literally the only viable gun in the entire map, you can understand how gun balance works with Desert Storm and how it doesn't work with Mirage. Another reason why I see that Desert Storm is so good is because it's just not too big. It isn't too big, and it's just the right size for people to be able to actually get into gunfights with each other. That, and the fact that since the height of the map is actually quite short compared to the other maps, it just makes the general pacing of the map a lot a lot easier to manage, since it's just you could be on that building over there, and you could also get into a gunfight from someone from that building over there. I mean, not many other maps could actually claim that, and that's a pretty fun aspect of Desert Storm that I personally quite like. But yeah. Point being, there are a lot of maps with similar arrangements to Desert Storm, but aren't exactly as good as Desert Storm. Let's get another example in here. Farmlands. People have been liking Farmlands a lot more than other maps, but I hate it. I absolutely hate Farmlands, and here's why. It's because of the wheat fields. You can't see anything. It's just spray and pray. You pull out an AA-12 or like an LMG or something, and you just spray people. There's no strategy involved there. Everything is just too. It favors the defender too much, basically, and that's the thing and that's also the thing with Blizzard. It's also the thing with Maul. It's the thing with a lot of maps, both old and new, and Desert Storm doesn't have any of that bullshit because there's not as much cover. And that's a thing that most people need to keep in mind while designing new maps. Adding more buildings and adding more cover doesn't make the map more fun. You need to make the pacing you need to make the pacing a lot quicker in order to make a map good. You can't make it too quick by, like if you have a map that's just a flat space, then yeah, it's pretty easy to just it's gonna be a fucking awful map. But Desert Storm is open, but not too open. Mirage has way too much cover, and it's just too goddamn big. Please do not take that out of context. But Desert Storm is just the right size. There's just the right amount of cover. It's just generally the perfect map, and it has just the right amount of strategy to it. So yeah, that's basically why I believe that Desert Storm is considered the best map in the game, because it has just the perfect amount of everything in it. So yeah, that was the video. I have no idea how long it came out to be, but I mean, I'm too lazy to check. I'm just gonna upload this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.